Hello, and welcome to JFCS Career Development Center's online workshop, LinkedIn for Job Searching, Strategies for Success in 2020. This video has been made available to you to give you a basic overview about what LinkedIn.com can do for you during your job search and with some of your networking goals. Today is really intended to be just a brief introduction to the website. We hope that you will also consider taking some of our real-time workshops on LinkedIn, where you'll get more in-depth, personalized instruction regarding how you can use LinkedIn to create your profile, complete your job search, and connect with other people who can assist you with developing your personal professional network. I want to quickly review our agenda for this workshop. I'm going to quickly touch on a little bit about myself, and we'll dive right into the LinkedIn overview, talking about what the website does, 3 key reasons why you might want to use it, and then thinking about how you can use it by building your brand through your profile page. We'll move on from there to talking about how you can make connections through LinkedIn, using its search function to find people who you know who might be able to help you meet other folks in strategic companies or who also are in your field. And finally, we'll talk a little bit about job search strategies, how you can use the website to actually find jobs you can apply to online, as well as some other tools that are available to you on LinkedIn right now during the current international situation. Finally, we'll give you some contact information, as obviously I can't answer your questions directly right now, but I would certainly love to help, as would many of the other members of our staff. So we'll make sure that you know how to reach us if you have additional questions following the video. All right, so my name's Caitlin Myers-Brooks. I am currently a consultant for JFCS Career Development Center, helping with trainings related to neurodiversity for local employers. But I'm also a prior career counselor for our JFCS Career Development Center. I worked here for about 3 years, as well as completing an internship before that. So I certainly have experience working with clients and have used LinkedIn quite a bit, both for my own professional goals, as well as assisting some of my clients who wanted to utilize it during their job search. So what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a business-oriented social networking service that has become the premier resource for job seekers because of its practicality and functionality in professional networking. So that's a nice summary, but I want to break that down with you here for a minute. So first off, LinkedIn is business-oriented. It is an extension of your professional life. So even though it is also a social networking service, much like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, etc., this is really going to be a place where you want to be putting your best foot forward and really only engaging in conversations, the sharing of articles, and the posting of photos that are directly relevant to your professional life. It has become the premier resource for job seekers. It is really an effective tool because of how it helps you to meet other people. So let's move ahead and consider the 3 key reasons why you might want to use this business-oriented website. All right. So first off, with LinkedIn, you get to enhance your professional online brand. You get to very clearly, with your own profile page, show potential employers, show recruiters, and show other people who are simply out there but might be able to help you who you are, what you've done in the past, and how your prior experience is going to help you in the job that you want moving forward. 2, identifying strategic networking contacts. So we'll get into this in a little more detail later, but LinkedIn really helps you see all of the people who are out there who know someone that you already know. So, you might never ask your Aunt Jan if she happens to know somebody who works in, let's say, who works in software development. Maybe Jan is a career teacher, a career English teacher, and so it's just kind of in your head initially 2 separate worlds. But it turns out, because LinkedIn shows you everyone who Jan knows in her professional life, that she's actually quite good friends with somebody who's a software developer. You might never have thought to ask for that introduction before. And then finally, number 3 is that LinkedIn does let you search for jobs. It functions much like a monster.com, an indeed.com, in that it aggregates different jobs that are available to you. But LinkedIn actually improves on that because many recruiters will directly post their job descriptions to LinkedIn. And so you are not simply seeing things that have been copied and pasted from various websites where they have job listings, but are often seeing things where there's a real live human being who put the job posting up on LinkedIn. All right, so let's talk about that profile page, and you'll get to see some images of what it looks like after we talk a little bit about it. But a couple of things to keep in mind with that individual profile. First of all, you really do want to include a picture. I completely respect when I've talked to some folks that it's a little uncomfortable to have your photo out there, but it helps people identify that if they're looking for a Joe Smith, that it is the Joe Smith that they in fact know. So you're really just confirming for people that they have found someone who they have met in real life. When you're considering what kind of picture to use, think about something that, yes, can reflect your personality, but again, in that business-focused sense. So you want to make sure that your headshot is really from about the chest up, almost what you can see of me up here in the corner of your screen. But wear something that is appropriate for your line of work. So is it a shirt? Is it a nice blouse? You should be aware of what your profession dictates, but make sure that it's not a t-shirt, okay? In terms of the background, it doesn't have to be a completely blank background behind you, but make sure that it's still something that doesn't distract from your face. Then you are also going to want to have a headline. So for a lot of people on LinkedIn, the headline just below their photo will simply list what their current job or their most recent job is. And that's fine if you're not currently looking for work. But if you want to make a little more of an impact and help recruiters understand what it is that you can offer, then change it up a little bit with something that is more of a personal branding statement. You can see on the screen here, we have a couple of examples. Usually we start with a job title, then we move to maybe a specialization or a subfield that you have worked in or would like to work in, and then end with, again, a little more detail. So is there a specific department that you've been in the past? Is there a specific population that you work with? Let's take a look at that first one under the headline action point. So, social worker, that's the job title. Cognitive behavioral therapy, okay, we're adding to social worker by saying this is a therapeutic modality that the social worker is trained in or perhaps specializes in. And then finally, children and adolescents. So that's a population that this social worker is particularly skilled at helping or really would like to serve moving forward. All right, so just to kind of clarify what I was meaning when I talked about the profile, we can see here the LinkedIn homepage. So you can go over to that left-hand column, and this is my colleague Justin Kelly, who is another person who teaches the LinkedIn classes. Quite frankly, he's the LinkedIn specialist, and he was kind enough to offer to let us use his profile as an example. So if you go over to the left-hand column, you can see there's that photo. Yep, so he's got himself so that we can see him from the shoulders up. He's got a branding statement just underneath his name. But if we want to go to his individual profile page, then we can actually just click on his photo. Alternatively, up in the right-hand corner, you can see there's sort of an arrow pointing up to it where it says me. You can click on that to see an edit and view your profile drop-down option. And again, all of this will be covered in more detail in the Build Your Profile Real-Time LinkedIn workshop, where you'll have the opportunity to work on this with an instructor. Okay, so this is what your actual profile page looks like. As you can see, this is really, we don't have that news feed anymore. It's just kind of a digital resume on LinkedIn. And to add information to it, you have this nice button, bright blue, where you can click it to add a profile section. And so let's talk a little bit more about what some of those sections include. So the main thing is, of course, your work experience. And we really encourage people to have their LinkedIn website up on one part of their screen, and then have a Word document version of your resume that you've worked on with your career counselor. You can also take a different workshop that we offer related to building your brand through your resume. And you want to go ahead and just copy everything over from your resume into your LinkedIn profile. So this is things like the job description, so 1 to 2 sentences of what you did every single day, but then the majority of what you're putting in under each position that you've held should be specific achievement statements, as we like to call them. So these are things that are quantifiable, ideally. Things like you increased production by 75%, you helped to write a grant that earned $10,000. If you can give it a measurement, that's wonderful. But if you can't, sometimes in certain professions, we really don't have those numbers that we can add. You can still talk about projects that you contributed to, but things that set you apart is what we mean by achievement statements, and make sure those individualized things that help you stand out as what makes you uniquely qualified in your field are on your LinkedIn profile in the same way that they would be on your resume. You also want to include all of your education to date. And then there's a skills section. So with skills, you're thinking about keywords. You're thinking about both hard skills, so certain, that's what we use to describe technology that you're trained in, particular equipment that you know how to use, very direct, concrete things that you've studied or trained and know how to utilize, but also soft skills. So that could be interpersonal skills like presenting or negotiating, those kinds of things that transfer quite well across different fields. And then there's also some additional sections that may be relevant to you, such as project experience, so different projects you've worked on, volunteer organizations that you've been a part of, and any certifications that you feel would be relevant to your job search. Okay. And so again, I just want you to actually see some screenshots of what these look like. So on your left, you have the Add the Work Experience box. So you have the opportunity to add your company, the location, the time that you worked there, or if you're still there. And then that description box is where you're going to put in that job description and the achievement statements. On the right, you have the skills. And so those you enter in just a couple words at a time, and you're going to want to find them on the drop-down menu. That's actually going to allow recruiters to search for people who have that specific skill. So make sure that you add those in there. Again, job recruiters may look for you not only by previous job titles that you've held, but they may really want somebody who has X number of years experience utilizing that one type of software or engaging in that particular type of project. All right, so after you have built your profile, you can start to look for people who you know. And we always recommend that you start off by finding people who you've actually interacted with in real life. The reason for this, the reason for establishing those connections with folks you actually know first, is because with the example of Aunt Jan, who I made up previously, we're willing to talk to family members. It's very comfortable to ask family members for help. Similarly, it might be slightly more uncomfortable or slightly more difficult to ask, a former coworker for help or an introduction to someone new, but we're still, it makes it easier for us and it makes it easier for them. If somebody knows you well, then they're much more likely to be willing to say, sure, I will gladly set up a meeting with this person at another company who you'd like to talk to, because I can say positive things about what I know of you, about your work ethic, about who you are as a worker or a friend or whatever it is, so it's kind of a two-way street. They're going to be able to speak more readily to your abilities, and you're going to feel much more comfortable asking them to take time out of their day to make an introduction. And when you're thinking of people you know, sometimes folks go, well, I don't even know if I know that many people. Well, you do. You just have to kind of cast a little bit of a wider net than you might have initially considered. So, first off, you can search by name for people that you definitely know well. Family members, your neighbors, your friends, folks you've met many times before. Former coworkers we've also mentioned. But take it one step further. Who have you volunteered with in the past? Is there somebody from a religious organization that you're a part of that might be able to assist you? And also academic connections, former professors, former classmates. These are all great options to add as a connection, sort of the LinkedIn equivalent of friending on Facebook, so that you have a base of people to work from. Because then you're going to want to expand beyond the people that you actually have known. This is the beauty of networking through LinkedIn. You can search for new people in two ways. Let's start with the targeted companies. So if you're on a job search, you probably know that there are specific companies or specific organizations where you would really like to work. And if you don't know this, that's all right, but maybe take some time doing a little bit of research to say, if you want to go into nonprofit management, what are the nonprofits in Pittsburgh that you are interested in? If you want to go into technology, what technology companies are growing in Pittsburgh? And you can use the Pittsburgh Business Times, the Book of Lists. Ask your career counselor if you need more guidance. But once you do know those targeted companies, on LinkedIn you can search for them. You want to search by the name of the company as well as the location. This is important because for many companies, let's use Google as an example, if you just search for Google and don't include Pittsburgh, you're going to get companies, people working at different offices all over the planet, actually. So unless you are deliberately trying to relocate, make sure that Pittsburgh or something within a reasonable commute for you is listed. So let's use Google as an example. So you've typed in Google, you've typed in Pittsburgh, and a bunch of names are going to come up. you are looking for ones that have a little, the word second next to them will pop up. This means that they are a second degree connection for you. A second degree connection means that one of your first degree connections, one of those people you know in real life you already connected with to create that core group, they know that person. And so suddenly your friend down the street, we'll call him Joe. Joe is aware of or has previously met somebody who works at Google in Pittsburgh, who is a software analyst at Google in Pittsburgh. And that is somebody who you would love to talk to about how they got in the door at Google, what the interviewing process is like, any number of things that are going to help you. And also to potentially get an advocate on the inside who can give your resume to a hiring manager. That will go a long way in getting you in the door. In a similar capacity, you can also look by job title. So even if, maybe you're looking at smaller companies and you're not able to find that second degree connection, you can also look by, if we're using the example from before, look for other software analysts in Pittsburgh who could then help you figure out what are the companies of interest, who's doing well, who's been hiring lately, who has that new product that is about to launch. This is also a great opportunity. And so again, there's another workshop on networking specifically, where you can take some time, prep those companies, prep those job titles, and you can talk with the instructor in real time about how to find some second degree connections that you can reach out to and how you might like to do so. All right, so this again, just providing you with a quick screenshot of what it will look like when you have searched for someone. So in this case, we're trying to find Nathan Smith, and this is a great example of why having a photo is so important, because here we have a bunch of different Nathan Smiths. Most of them are right here in Pittsburgh. We can cross out the guy from Portland, but we want to be able to identify the Nathan that we know. And so that can only happen if we have that photo and also a completed profile that lists where they're currently working, because we might know that Nathan is the CFO at Compass Savings Bank, which is that fourth option down, and that could help us find it as well. All right, searching for jobs. So, as I mentioned before, LinkedIn has a number of jobs that are posted, not only through the aggregation process from different job postings on various companies' websites, but also direct postings by recruiters. So again, you're going to use that top bar at the top of the website to search by a job title, to search by a keyword, one of those skills maybe that you listed before, and the final possibility, searching by the actual company. Again, make sure you add that location unless you know that you want to relocate or are open to relocating. Once you have a search, right? So let's say it's a Friday, you type in a search for opportunities at Duolingo and nothing comes up. Well, you have the option of saving that search so that you can get updates either daily or weekly when Duolingo posts a new job, so that you're not going to miss out on the opportunity just because you didn't look at the ideal time. Finally, most job postings will refer you back to the company website to apply. This is usually a good strategy anyway. It's one less barrier to your resume and application documentation being seen by a real person. But with LinkedIn, there's also a quick apply or an easy apply option that helps you get that resume out there much faster, because some recruiters recognize, hey, I can see your entire profile on here. I can already kind of get a sense of who you are and what you're doing. I don't really need you to fill out another whole application a second time. And so if you do see that quick apply or easy apply, that is sort of the exception to the rule, and it is okay to apply through LinkedIn. And I've told some of my clients in the past, this can be a great option if you are really busy, if you are really stressed, if you're just trying to build up some momentum and motivation with your job search, and you know that you do not have the time or energy to take a full 2 hours to fill out a large application on the website, try to find a quick apply. You get one application out there, you feel good about achieving something, it's one more application than you had when you woke up that morning, and run with it. You might find that your motivation builds just for getting that one easy apply application done and out. All right, so we also wanted to spend a little time during this video just talking about jobs that are in demand during the current COVID-19 situation. We do understand there are a lot of jobs that are not necessarily available right now as we're all practicing social distancing as we are able. So these are some things you can keep in mind pending your comfort and own preferences. So I'll just leave this up for a minute so you can take a look. It's largely jobs that are related to warehouse work, some of those essential services, some transportation jobs are available, as well as some jobs are actually onboarding people through telecommunication, and particularly jobs that are offering support to people like psychologists, counselors, academic advisors. We are seeing on LinkedIn that there are those jobs available. Just be aware that for at least the next few weeks to a few months, those may largely be through telecommunications services only. So LinkedIn, and both the last slide and this slide came directly from research that LinkedIn itself conducted. They've also tried to track which companies are currently most likely to be hiring. And so these are the companies and organizations that have the most open jobs on LinkedIn right now. So again, I'll just leave this up. It does seem to largely be healthcare and food retail, grocery, with some shipping. So feel free to write these down if you are interested. Okay. So as mentioned, LinkedIn is a social media site. You have, beyond the capacity to build a profile, the ability to interact with other people on LinkedIn. You can write brief posts, you can write longer articles, you can respond to other posts or articles that people have shared. And so we just wanted to take a moment again during the present global situation to talk about what that might look like for you right now. So we've seen folks on LinkedIn writing about what does their daily work life look like right now. So that can be things like, how did you set up your home office? How are you structuring your time and your day? How are you engaging in self-care so that you can be effective at work in a very unique and different circumstances? You can also join conversations, so don't be afraid to jump in on various news articles that people have posted. We just encourage you to, try to remain relatively neutral. Try to express curiosity rather than accusations. Avoid going too far into religious topics or political topics. The same standard stuff that you might engage in the workplace with conversation. But it is perfectly fine to try to connect with people and talk about things that are going on. You can share your own unique perspective. So what are your skills that you're using right now? How have you been able to utilize that training that you took before this all started to, maybe do some editing from home or work on writing that book that you were always thinking of. You know, it's not a time that any of us were necessarily ready to engage with. It is unprecedented, to say the least, but a lot of us are finding creative ways to adapt, and perhaps you have your own unique take on that you could share on LinkedIn right now. And finally, stay informed, right? So use this time to read. There are different trainings that are available. You can actually see that link down at the bottom of the page. LinkedIn Learning, which was previously lynda.com, has offered some new opportunities to help people with working from home or conducting your job search from home. So you can, when you're feeling up to it, check out some of those resources and try to get yourself in the best possible place for your job search when it is next ideal for you to engage in that job search. All right, so that is what we are going to cover today on LinkedIn, but I just want to reiterate that we really do want to hear from you. And we are available through a number of different methods. So call us, email us at any of the methods of contact that we've listed here. We are not in the office yet, but we are all working from home through telecommunication, and now is a perfectly reasonable time to start services. So please do reach out, take some of our other workshops online, get connected to a career counselor who would be happy to speak with you through Zoom. And we would love to take you to the next step now that you have had your LinkedIn Basics class. I hope that you have enjoyed this brief presentation and that it was helpful to you. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care and be well.